Hey everybody, Nick Espinoza, your chief security fanatic here. And in artificial intelligence news, we've got an interesting one because, quite frankly, it's ready to replace your personality and probably mine. And I think it's kind of cool, it's kind of weird, kind of terrifying as well in its own way. Now, there was a really good write-up on this in MIT Technology Review by James O'Donnell, and here's what's going on. Because apparently just a 2-hour interview with you is enough to accurately capture your values and preferences, according to new research coming out of Stanford and Google's DeepMind. Now, that is according to that new paper from that team of researchers, which has just recently been published in ARXIV, but has not yet been peer-reviewed. So, here's what's happening. This team is led by Joon Sun Park. He's a Stanford PhD student in computer science, and his team recruited 1,000 people who vary by age, gender, race, region, education, and political ideology. All of these participants were paid up to $100 for their participation. From these interviews with these participants, this team then created agent replicas of those individuals. Now, as a test of how well the agents mimic their human counterparts, participants did a series of personality tests, social surveys, and logic games twice each, 2 weeks apart, and then the agents completed the same exercises. And the results were interesting because the AI personalities, the copies of your personality, were 85% similar in their responses to all of the games that the humans played. So, according to Park, and I quote, "If you can have a bunch of small yous running around and actually making decisions that you would have made, that I think is ultimately the future," end quote. And yeah, I think he's completely right on that. I mean, imagine an AI that knows your tone, your language, in something as simple as writing and crafting an email, and then you're letting it respond for you as you. That's essentially what we're talking about here. I've also did a recent video on the platform Grindr, which is the dating app, for the LGBT community, where they have basically like an AI wingman that can talk to your wingman or the prospective date's wingman. So it knows everything about you, and then it talks to the other AI that knows everything about your prospective date, and they can hammer this stuff out. Eventually, just setting up dates for you. That's where we're heading with this. Now, in this paper that they wrote, the replicas are called simulation agents. And the impetus here is basically to creating them, is to make it easier for researchers in social sciences and other fields to conduct studies that would be expensive, impractical, or unethical to do with real human subjects. In other words, you can beat up an AI, but you can't beat up a human. So if you can create AI models that behave like real people, you can then use them to test everything from how well interventions on social media combat misinformation to what behaviors would cause traffic jams. So such simulation agents are slightly different from the agents that are dominating, the work that most AI companies are doing today. Those are called tool-based agents, and those models are built to actually do things for you, not just converse with you. So for example, a tool-based agent may enter data, retrieve information you have stored somewhere, or at some point do things like set up dates for you, book travel, schedule appointments, all those kinds of things. So the research here comes with caveats, and not the least of which is the danger that it points to. So just as image generation technology makes it super easy to create deep fakes of individuals without their consent, an agent generation technology obviously raises questions about the ease of which people could build tools to personify others, saying or authorizing things they didn't intend to say. So think about the Ferrari, like the car maker out of Italy. They had a deep fake audio of the CEO and basically replicated even his southern Italian accent, because there are different dialects in Italy. Now imagine an AI being able to respond on the fly, 85% accurate to that CEO. Now you've got a problem, right? Because it's not just somebody trying to mimic it, not knowing what the CEO would think about or talk about, but imagine it ingesting every single interview that the AI, the CEO, the actual CEO of Ferrari did, and then integrating that into a learning model that basically makes a replicated personality of that person. Now, you're not necessarily going to know all of his politics or personal habits, but you're going to get enough. And I think that's one of the problems here. The evaluation methods the team used to test how well the AI agents replicated their corresponding humans was also fairly basic as well. That's another issue. Now, these included the general social survey, And that essentially collects information on one's demographics, happiness, behaviors, and et cetera, et cetera. They also did assessments of the big 5 personality traits: openness to experience, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, neuroticism, et cetera, et cetera. Now, these tests are commonly used in social science research, but don't pretend to capture all of the unique details that make us us. And so the AI agents were also, for the record, worse at replicating humans in behavioral tests like the quote unquote dictator game, which is basically meant to illuminate how participants consider values such as fairness. And that's one thing that artificial intelligence hasn't been good at. And when we were talking about that ethical consideration, if you were to ask an AI, how do you defeat climate change? The default answer would be kill all humans. My personality, my fake AI personality that is replicating me, I wouldn't want to say kill all humans because that's not what I would want it to do, right? That's not what I would say as a human being. And so by virtue of that, this is, I think, a burgeoning field. And when you're getting results that you have artificial intelligence being about 85% accurate to what you would do, how you would act, the decision you would make, that's a huge step forward in having an artificial intelligence basically take a lot of tasks away from you and to Mr. Park's point, make decisions for you that you would overwhelmingly agree with. Now you're not going to go out and kill all humans, right? Unless you're a serial killer and is replicating that personality and you're sticking into a robot. But the point is that this is going to basically free up a lot of time. And so the question becomes, if you can afford it, in other words, this is going to be very expensive to have a robot do this, but my God, if I could send a robot to do half the tasks that I need to get done, and it's going to basically think similar to me and make similar decisions to what I'm doing and maybe even improve on some of that, that's fantastic. I think that's a great thing, but we have to take the good with the bad. Privacy considerations, deep fake considerations, and on and on. So that is your interesting news of the day. I thought it was fascinating, and hopefully you do too, but we'll see where this goes, knowing at some point we're probably going to be shooting at our robot selves in 5 years when they all turn Terminator. And please like, share, follow me here on Facebook and Twitter at NickAESP, and please feel free to subscribe to me at YouTube as well. And as always, stay safe, stay online, and please attempt to stay private. Thanks, everybody.